First affirmative, Maura Clark.
Second affirmative, Kathleen Uraski.
First negative, Annie Morris.
Second negative, Elise Lane.
According to HSI.org, an estimated 26 million animals are used every year in the United States for scientific and commercial testing. And 9 out of every 10 candidate medicines that appear safe and effective in animal studies fail when given to humans. Drug failures in research that never delivers because irrelevant animal models not only delay progress, but also waste resources and risk health and safety of volunteers in clinical trials. This is why we, the affirmative, support the resolve stating that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for medical testing. For the purpose of this debate, terms will be defined as follows, according to Google definitions and businessdictionary.com. From business.dictionary.com, FDA, a federal agency of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Also, from businessdictionary.com, lethal dose 50, standard measure of the toxicity of a material that will kill half of the sample population of a specific test animal in a specific period. From google.definitions.com, functional genomics, a field of molecular biology that attempts to make use of vast wealth of data produced by genomic and transgenomic projects to describe gene and protein functions and interactions. Also from google.definitions.com, human genome, the complete set of nucleic acids sequenced for humans enclosed in a DNA within 23 chromosomes pairs in cell nuclei and in small DNA molecule within individual mitochondria. Our plan is as follows. Step 1, all animal testing will be eliminated. Step 2, will be to place all animals who were tested in places with shelters and zoos instead so that they can have a happy life and healthy. Step 3 will be to implement technology and conduct the sequencing of the human genome and birth of functioning genomics. Step 4, implement a law that if a lab is found with animal testing, they will be charged a fine according to the degree of their crime, and any further offenses will lead to closing of the company. Our contentions for this case are as follows. Inaccurate. Inaccurate. Harms to the animals. Harms to the animals. Alternative solutions. Alternative solutions. I will now develop our first contention. Inaccurate. Practiceofmorality.com states that crude skin allergy tests in guinea pigs only predict human reactions 72% of the time. But a combination of chemistry and cell-based alternative methods have been shown to accurately predict human reactions up to 90%. The notorious stray skin irritation test in rabbits can only predict human reactions 60% of the time, but using reconstructed human skin is up to 86% accurate. The standard test on pregnant rats is to find out if chemicals or drugs may harm a developing baby can only detect 60% of dangerous substances. But a cell-based alternative has 100% accuracy at detecting very toxic chemicals. The cruel, unreliable, selfish toxin testing on live mice has now been fully replaced with a far superior anti-chemistry method that is better at protecting humans. SpeakOutForSpecies.com states that, for example, experiences on rats, hamsters, guinea pigs, mice, and monkeys, and baboons revealed no link between glass fibers and cancer. Only after human studies related that the Occupational Safety and Health Administration labeled these fibers as cariogenic. Epiderm, an in vitro test derived from cultured human cells, was found to be more accurate in identifying chemical skin irritants than transitional human skin, while tests on rabbits misclassified 10 out of 25 test chemicals, a full 40% error rate. It also states that the skin corrosivity and irritation can be easily measured using three-dimensional human equivalent systems such as Epiderm and Skin Ethic. Additional alternatives include EpiSkin and a variety of sophisticated computer-based quantitative structural activity relationships. Models that predict skin corrosivity and irritation by means of correlating a new drug or chemical with its likely activity properties and its effect classifying accuracy between 90 and 95%. Richard Clausen, former director of National Cancer Institute, said that we have cured cancer for mice in decades, and it simply does not work in humans. Even chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives, do not predict results in humans. My opponent may claim animal testing has contributed to many life-saving cures and treatments, but as my evidence has shown, the insulin therapy would not have been discovered unless animal researchers had proved the pancreas from dogs in the 1920s. But like other areas of medical research, the important clues actually came earlier from deep brain stimulation, including electrolytes that might be placed in the brain to improve symptoms. Another example is the human population studies led to smoking. Smoking does not cause cancer in mice or rats, therefore saying the human genome testing is more intelligent and accurate alternative. As I stated in my attention getter, too many animals are being used in testing, especially when 9 out of these...
You have to stop.
I am now ready for cross-examination.
Alright, so you mentioned something about baboons finding, can you restate what you said about the baboons?
Yes. Experiments on rats, hamsters, guinea pigs, mice, monkeys, and baboons revealed no link between glass fibers and cancer.
Okay, but are you aware that monkeys led to the discovery of cervical cancer medicine?
Are you aware that actually that humans, that like the testing in humans was found way before the monkeys was like supposedly found?
Okay. So you're talking about how that all these alternatives, but you're saying the skin, for dermatology purposes. All your alternatives were.
No, Episkin, it's when they created by 3D printing, and they use different, they use like cells from your skin to create other parts of the body.
But does that, animal testing is mostly used to see how the animal will react mentally. How is Episkin going to account for all of these mental issues that can occur in medicines?
There's also in vitro that I also stated that is, which affects all of the background between like the animals and its tests, and it creates like 3D printing of organs and different things that can create.
But that doesn't test
the
the whole body. It doesn't.
But we
account
also
for the
use
whole
genome testing, is what we stated in our plan, and genome testing is what like the body is made of, and that's what like affects it.
Are you aware that 4,000 of the genes studied by the National Human Genome Research Institute, 4,000 of the genes studied in both human and mice, less than 10% of those genes were found in one species but not the other. Are you aware of that?
Well, are you aware that over 95% of animal tests fail, so in vitro is actually better, just like by what you said? Because only 9 out of 10 of the animal tests actually work in humans.
Thank you.
Somebody take a deep breath, right?
Dr. Christopher Austin, director of the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, stated, "Sometimes people do not realize that animal models are absolutely essential for what is going on in medical research now. If animals stopped being used, progress in medical research would slow dramatically and probably screech to a halt in some cases. Many of the advances that we take for granted have happened through the use of animal models. This is why we, the negative, negate the resolve that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for medicinal testing. For the purpose of this debate, terms will be defined as follows according to Google definitions. Animal testing: the use of non-human animals in experiments that seek to control the variables that affect behavior or biological system under study. Humane: inflicting the minimal of pain. FDA: Food and Drug Administration. The status quo is that the FDA allows animal testing as long as it follows the conditions of the Animal Welfare Act and there is no other alternative that can be used. The law provides for criminal penalties, civil penalties, and revocation of permits for violations of the AWA. Our contentions for this case are as follows. Contention 1, medical advancements. Medical advancements. Contention 2, reliability. Reliability. Contention 3, humane. Humane. I will now develop our first contention, and medical advancements. Animal testing has played a vital role in many medical advances. According to protest.org.uk, the dog contributed to the discovery of insulin, the monkey contributed to the discovery of a polio vaccine, the mouse contributed to the discovery of chemotherapies, the pig contributed to CAT scans and skin grafts, and the rat contributed to the discovery of modern anesthetics. AMProgress.org states that because of animal-based research, oncologists have a deeper understanding of molecular and genetic tumor biology. These new understandings are leading to treatments that could set out to more directly kill cancer cells and therefore make cancer more curable. UCLA Newsroom states that the studies done by UCLA utilizing mice were the basis for human clinical trials in patients with metastatic breast cancer. These studies led to the development of Herceptin, a breast cancer medication. Herceptin was the first cancer-fighting drug to successfully target a specific genetic alteration, which limited side effects caused by typical therapies, such as hair loss and nausea. Mouse models of human cancers, such as prostate, pancreatic, and lung cancer, are commonly used to test innovative cancer-fighting agents. AnimalResearch.ubc states that research with snakes helped Nobel Prize winner Sir James Black create a new class of medicine to treat hypertension, which affects 1 in every 5 people living in Canada. According to WebMD, these medicines can prevent heart failure, high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, and diabetes. Without doing research on snakes, Sir James Black would not have discovered hypertension medicines, and a treatment for high blood pressure could still be a mystery. AnimalResearch.info states that new medicines are required by law to be tested on animals, which proves the necessity of animal testing before being used on humans for safety reasons. My opponent may claim that alternatives can be used as opposed to animals, but as I stated in my contention, animal testing is absolutely necessary to test new medicines. My opponent may claim that medicines can be harmful to humans and not to animals, but our evidence will further show animals being tested for these medicines are the most closely related to humans. Therefore, though they may have their flaws, animals are the best model to use to test medicines. My opponent may also claim that animal testing is harmful to our economy because the amount of money put into it. But animal testing is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and according to NEAVS.org, the Jackson Laboratory alone made a profit of $98.7 million just in 2010. Not to mention the amount of money made from products such as pacemaker, artificial joints, vaccines, and a large number of medications. As I stated in my attention getter, animal models are necessary for medical advancements, and by eliminating animals in medicinal testing, these advances would slow dramatically. It is for these reasons we, the negative, negate the resolve that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for medicinal testing. I am now ready for cross-examination.
Are you aware that important clues that founded insulin therapy was really founded in humans before they ever thought to remove the pancreas from the dog?
Yes, but the dog was still needed before they could give it to humans as a sole drug that's widely used.
But they needed the human testing, and if they would have just took so much longer than to use the dog than if they just would have used alternatives.
But they used the dog to make sure make sure it's as safe as possible before giving to humans as a widely used medication.
But do you realize that there's 93 dangerous side effects in humans, and only 19% of those showed up in animal testing?
Yes, but as of right now, animals are the best model. They're the closest model to the human that can be used for medicinal testing. And animals, they can have their flaws, but animal testing is used to ensure safety for humans. And though there's you can have mistakes and it can affect humans differently, it's either starting with animals and having a rare case of flaws, or starting with humans and having the expense of human lives at that.
But we're not starting with humans, we're starting with human alternatives, which is genomes and using parts of humans that were left over that are not being used.
But as of animals are the best model that can be used. They're the best living model, so they can have the
when
best
they
effects.
fail 90% of the time, how is animals the best model?
Because animals are living organisms.
Yes, they're living, so why would we need to kill them if we could use artificial products?
Because animals are living, so then they have the same effect, closer to the same effects that
But
humans
when they
will,
result
because
9 out of
they
10
behavior.
times in failure, then how is it really having the same effects when they're so different than us?
Because they're having their mental state is being affected as same as possible as a human would. There's not going to be exact. There's no way that anything could be an exact, even artificial things, because each body reacts differently. But animals are the best in the world.
James Spicer from the University of Tennessee stated, "Every day we are intimately connected with animals. We eat animals for food, wear animal skins for clothes, own animals as pets, use animals for recreation, and experiment on animals to test drugs and consumer products. We are aware of this, yet we typically give little thought to the staggering number of animals that we use in these ways, and what the animals themselves might be experiencing as we use them for our purposes. This is why we, the affirmative, support the resolve that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for medical testing." I will now develop our second contention, harms to animals. According to an animal advocacy organization called the New England Anti-Vivisection Society, the lethal dose 50 test forces animals to ingest toxic and lethal substances to the point where 50% of the animals in the study die, and those that do not are later killed once they no longer serve a purpose in the study. These harmful tests are conducted regularly and cause significant physical and emotional harm on the animals. According to the Speak Out for Species organization, the Animal Welfare Act, or AWA, is the only federal law to mandate even the basic standards of care, housing, and treatment for animals used in labs. However, the AWA does not include birds, mice, and rats bred for use in research. These birds, mice, and rats represent about 95% of the animals used in experiments. This shows how even with the government making the most minimalistic standards against improper care of lab animals, countless are still forced to endure extremely uncomfortable and painful lives. According to an article by the University of Tennessee, last updated on January 1st of 2015, the harms of testing can be inflicted at every stage of an animal's life. First, they are moved into unfamiliar and harsh conditions. Then they are housed in cages for the majority of their lives. They are restrained during the tests, which could involve administering a drug or chemical or even surgery. Such an uncertain life can lead to permanent damage to the animals. No animal should ever have to endure such torment. Our third contention is alternative solutions. According to the New England Anti-Vivisection Society, I mentioned in my second contention, the alternatives for animal testing include test tube test methods and models based on human cell and tissue cultures, computerized patient drug databases and virtual drug trials, computer models and simulations, stem cell and genetic testing methods, non-invasive imaging techniques such as MRIs and CT scans, and microdosing, which is where humans are given very low quantities of a drug to test the effects on the body on the cellular level without affecting the whole body system. According to Cruelty Free International, with the continually improving technology, scientists are now able to replicate parts of the human anatomy clearly. These computer models can represent the heart, lungs, kidneys, skin, and digestive and musculoskeletal systems. These can then be used to conduct virtual experiments without the use of any animals. Also found from Cruelty Free International, both healthy and diseased tissues can be donated from humans, which can provide an easier and more applicable way of studying human biology and diseases. These tissues can be donated from surgery via biopsies, cosmetic surgeries, and diseases. These tissues, or skin and eye models made from donated human skin and tissue, have been made and are being used to replace cruel irritation tests earlier tested on rabbits. Brain tissue donated after a person has died has also been useful in studying diseases such as multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's disease. These tests offer unique insight since the tests are performed on actual human tissue. Almost every type of human and animal cell can be grown in a lab. Scientists have even managed to grow cells into a 3D structure mimicking an organ. These can represent a realistic way to test experiments. From the same article written by Cruelty Free International, alternative solutions are much more accurate than animal testing as well. For example, skin allergy tests are only 72% accurate with guinea pigs, but with the alternative stated, it is up to 90% accurate. The advantages of our plan, such as having access to more accurate alternatives, would outweigh the disadvantages of not being able to use a living, breathing creature to mimic reactions in tests. Our plan is workable and provides solvency because it fixes the physical harms placed on animals, which is present in the status quo. The status quo has inherency because it continues to use inaccurate and harmful tests on these animals. It is for these reasons that we, the affirmative, support the resolve that the FDA should ban all, or should eliminate all animals for the use of medical testing. I am now ready for cross-examination.
One of the sources that you continued to use was animalcruelty.org. Do you agree that that is a biased source?
Yes, because it's an organization that is working to get rid of animal testing, so they have their sources backed up as well by sources that are.
Can you prove that they're backed off by reliable sources that are unbiased?
I don't have their printed out. So no.
Are you aware of the steps that are taken before full-on animal testing is implemented?
Yeah, they are moved to unfamiliar or harsh conditions, and they're housed in cages. And then when during the tests they are restrained and administered drugs or chemicals or even performed surgery.
Did you know that computer models and in vitro research, with what my opponent also claimed was a better alternative, is also used before animal testing is started? For any testing on any animals used?
No, I wasn't, but I think that that actually is better because then we are not using the animals right away.
Yes. So that is
But I think that with our plan, we would be taking away the animals completely. So if we are already using the alternatives first, then I don't understand why we are using animals at all.
Do you agree that with the status quo, since the artificial uses are being implemented before actual animal testing, that animal testing is to ensure safety even more?
But I don't agree that if it is to ensure safety, if symptoms that occur in animals also occur in animals, I don't think it's fair to those animals to put them through that kind of torment of the symptoms and the diseases and the experimentation.
Do you think humans should be put through that torment instead?
I think that we should use the alternative solutions to study these diseases so that less humans have to go through that.
Well, do you agree that cells cannot mimic mental effects, and that's one of the primary reasons animal testing is
Well,
used?
as I said, brain tissue that was donated after someone died has been being used to study diseases such as multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's disease.
Do you agree that that does not represent how they affect daily life? Like how that would affect how they carry out daily routines?
Well, I think it can because we can take
Thank
those.
you. According to the American Medical Progress Association, animal-based research has led to new molecular and genetic understandings of tumor biology, leading to treatments that set out to more directly kill cancer cells, which are molecularly different than normal cells. This shows why animal models are not only necessary in research, but they are also reliable. This is why we, the negative, negate the resolve that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals in medicinal testing. I will now develop our second contention, reliability. According to the National Human Genome Research Institute, of the 4,000 genes studied in both humans and mice, less than 10 of those genes are found in one species and not the other. This means that 99.9975% of our genes are shared with genes in mice, and 85% of those protein coding regions are identical. Also, according to the National Human Genome Research Institute, scientists can mimic in mice the effect of DNA alterations that occur in human diseases and carefully study the consequences of these DNA misspellings. Research animals are also bred safely for specific types of experiments, making the main test area very similar to the test area in humans. According to Professor Robin Lovell Badge, the head of the Division of Stem Cell Biology at the National Institute for Medical Research, in the past 30 years, not a single person has died in the phase 1 of clinical human testing. This success rate is due to the preclinical animal testing, which my opponents have failed to recognize. And that means that animal models are doing their job to keep people safe. According to the BBC, many of the drugs that pass the animal testing do not pass in clinical testing. However, there are many factors that can contribute to the failed experiment. For example, formaldehyde killed many newborns and women, but the drug company did not perform extensive tests, get the FDA approval, or tested mice in the correct physiological environment.
I will now develop my third contention, humane. According to a study conducted by the Journal of American Association for Laboratory Animal Sciences, since May of 2010, the United States Department of Agriculture has initiated an enhanced enforcement process for implementing the requirements of the Animal Welfare Association. This enhanced enforcement requires that facilities manage a proactive and progressive animal care and use program. Its facilities are also have an extensive inspection process. Those inspectors must have a working knowledge of the regulations, the USDA documents used in the inspection process, and an understanding of the enforcement process. According to the International Council for Laboratory Animal Science, in December of 2012, the Council made new international guidelines for animal testing. They not only recognize that animals play a vital role in medical advancements, but they also limit and protect animal testing to the rule of 3 R's: replacement, reduction, and refinement. According to the Animal Research Information, before a drug is tested on animals, it is tested on tissues and organs of a non-living animal, which provides yet another step to ensure that the animals are safe and protected. The plan does not have inherency because the status quo is fixing itself. In the 2008 edition of the AWA, they banned most testing on dogs, cats, and non-human primates. With changes constantly being made to the international and national guidelines to protect animals, the physical, qualitative, and quantitative harms of the status quo are decreasing. The disadvantages of the plan outweigh the advantages. While they say that alternative testing will be able to cover for and work better than animal models, that's incorrect. As shown by Dr. Inger, the creator of the microfluidic lung chip that my opponents have mentioned, the current alternatives are unable to replace animal models. Also said by Dr. Austin of the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, the putting a halt to animal testing would put a halt to medical advancements. The plan lacks solvency because it does not account for this major social harm. As stated in my attention getter, animal models are necessary for advancements in medicine, and the plan could not account for the absence of animal models. This is why we, the negative, negate the resolve. The FDA should eliminate the use of animals in medicinal testing. I am now ready for cross-examination.
How can you say that testing for cancer is helping in animals when the director of the National Cancer Institute stated that they have cured cancer in mice for decades, but it doesn't work when it gets to the human trials?
Well, how can you prove that it's working in the alternatives that you provide?
Are you aware that 95% of the tests that work in animals also fail in human trials, so not just cancer, any kind of medical research?
Well, obviously they aren't failing too bad because no humans in the past 30 years have died in phase 1 of clinical human testing.
But do you agree that it still might not be helping the human? It just might not be killing them, but it could not also be helping the advancement of our diseases and our medical research?
Of course, it might not be helping, but if we didn't test on animals first, we could be killing them instead.
Are you aware that the Animal Welfare Act does not protect birds, mice, and birds, mice, and rats, and they make up 95% of the animals tested?
Well, I am aware of that, but the Animal Welfare Act and the definition of an animal includes all living and non-living animals, including mice, rats, birds, etc.
Do you agree that even with the 3 R's that you mentioned, the animals could still endure pain and fear?
They do not, because the USDA and the Animal Welfare Act and the International Guidelines for Laboratory Animal Sciences have been ensuring that animals are well protected and that they are not put in extreme cruel conditions that humans also do face.
And let me ask you this, would you want someone experimenting on you?
I wouldn't, and that's why we have animal testing.
But do you agree that animals can still feel the same pain that we can, and why would you want to inflict that on an animal?
Yeah.
Oh, seriously? Okay. First negative. First negative. Sorry, I messed that up actually. Animals are the best model for human medicinal testing, and by eliminating animal testing, human lives would be at stake. The affirmatives plan does not provide uniqueness because experimentation has to start somewhere, and there will be some failures, but without animal testing medicines, they would be tested on humans, which would cause a more significant issue. To stop animal testing due to rare mistakes is not workable. All tests has its flaws, but animal testing is used to make medicines as safe as possible before being sold and used on humans. The monetary harms of the status quo are not significant because according to Brookings.edu, the government collects $3.18 trillion each year from taxes, and according to PETA.org, only $12 billion is put towards animal testing. Animal testing is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the money made from it outweighs the money put into animal testing. The physical harms of the status quo are not significant because animals used for medical research are not being treated cruelly. As shown by our evidence, there are many organizations such as the International Council for Laboratory Animal Services and the Animal Welfare Association that continues to add more restrictions and regulations to facilities. My opponent claimed that artificial models should be used to replace animal testing, but as my research shows, Dr. Donald Engbert, the creator of a lung on a chip, in order to decrease animal testing, acknowledges that although animal models have their flaws, we cannot get rid of them entirely. Engbert stated, there are certain things in animals that are not able to be replaced. My opponent claimed that animals in facilities are treated cruelly, but the AWA requires every facility to have a veterinarian on staff to care for the physical and mental needs of every animal. Please vote negative.
Models, test systems, research tools, products, euphemisms for animals. They are called anything but living, feeling, sentient creatures. No matter how many tests on animals are undertaken, someone will always be the first human to be tested on. Because animal tests are so unreliable, they make those human trials all the more risky. The Food and Drug Administration has noted that 92% of all drugs that are shown to be safe and effective in animal testing fail in human trials because they don't work or are extremely dangerous. My opponent claims that animal testing is our best choice, but my evidence has shown that computer models of the heart, lungs, kidney, skin, digestive, and musculatory systems already exist. They can be used to conduct virtual experience based on existing information and mathematical data. CrueltyFreeInternational.org states that only 6% of 43,000 international companies involved in drug development have registered a new drug with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration since 1950. Therefore, the status quo is not workable due to the failure and poor results. Our plan is workable and provides solvency because it costs less, saves money, and is much more accurate. Used on human donation parts or 3D printed tests. Our plan does not harm animals, nor animals, unlike the status quo, like making animals suffer for our benefit when over half the tests are not accurate. And like our third contingent stated, almost every type of human and animal cell can be grown in a laboratory. So why would we waste our time and resources and money on something that is not accurate and is extremely harmful to creatures when we have so many more intelligent alternatives? Also, my opponent does not seem to realize that we are not using humans for testing. We are using alternative solutions that protect the humans so that they don't have to go through clinical trials that can harm them worse than they would be harmed if they were actually tested on. This is why we, the affirmative, support the resolve stating that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for testing. Please vote affirmative.
Under the Animal Welfare Association and the International Council for Animal Laboratory Sciences, animal models are well cared for and protected. These two organizations have increased regulations and make sure that all animals are not put in painful and cruel situations. The status quo, or the plan, lacks inherency because the status quo is fixing itself. Both of these organizations, according to their respective websites, have been in place for 25 to 50 years. New rules are added around every 10 to 15 years as our knowledge of medical research increases. They are both working to test animals only when needed and to provide more protection for them. The National Human Genome Research Institute states that mouse models afford the opportunity to test possible therapeutic agents and evaluate their precise effects, which alternatives to animal testing cannot conclude. According to the American Association for Laboratory Animal Sciences, the FDA requires veterinarians to care for the psychological and physical needs of research animals. This, combined with the regulations of the USDA, are protecting animal models from being mistreated. According to the National Cancer Institute, many human diseases, such as cancer, are full of suffering and pain. Have you seen a person suffer from cancer? They moan in agony for hours upon hours, and it's truly awful. As stated in my attention getter, animal models are being used and are necessary for the advancement of cancer medicines. While these medicines might not be curing cancer.
Excuse this interruption, or report to the front office?
Okay, thanks. What?
In first.
Can you finish this first?
1 minute.
Okay, just tell me when you want me to go. And you just start talking.
They are improving the survival rates and helping cure that agony. The alternatives that my opponent has mentioned that are used on animals first, and often animals find faults in those alternatives, which shows that the alternatives my opponent mentions are still not working completely well. And they say that humans will not be tested on, but with their plan, humans will be the first living organism tested. My opponent has said that if we would not want to be tested on, why would we want to bring pain to animals? However, if they weren't tested on animals, then we would be tested. Animals are not experiencing any pain that humans do not face in these diseases that animal models are being used for. The affirmative's plan lacks solvency and is not workable. To stop using animal models would mean that our medical research and success rate would be severely harmed, according to Dr. Christopher Austin on a PBS segment. The disadvantages of the plan outweigh the advantages because banning animal testing would, according to Dr. Austin, bring medical advancements to a screeching halt, a halt that we cannot afford right now when so many people are suffering. He also says that animal testing is absolutely necessary in medicine right now. The plan lacks inherency because the Animal Welfare Act is constantly being updated. It also allows for significant medical breakthroughs. Under the status quo, new medical devices and drugs are being safely tested and perfected on animals. According to the BBC, allowing for humans to receive better treatments such as organ replacement surgeries and chemotherapy medicines, it is for these reasons that we, the negative, negate the resolve. The FDA should eliminate the use of animals in medicinal testing. Please vote negative.
Who was it that was called? One of you girls?
It was me, but can I just wait till this is done and then we'll go on?
So we can go now. We'll be done.
No, I want to say
I don't know how to
It's just the
respond to
drug
them.
Yeah.
when they send
No,
it.
I'll go.
It's fine. Yeah, she'll be fine.
We're doing it today, they can have it out. It's not an emergency.
No, it's drug testing.
With the extreme physical harms the status quo has on animals, our plan is an extremely healthy option. The alternatives provide solvency to our plan because with taking away animal testing, we would provide an even more accurate alternative. The advantages such as not having choices of testing from which to pick from outweigh the disadvantages of not having a living, breathing creature to test upon. The status quo is not workable because animal testing is often extremely inaccurate. Our plan fixes this because, as I stated, alternative testing can be up to 18% more accurate. Animals are able to feel pain and suffering just like any human. Our plan protects these animals from being subjected to this torturous lifestyle. My opponent claimed that animal testing is helping with cancer, but the director of the National Cancer Institute, as I stated, also said that the tests are not working in human trials even after cancer has been cured in mice. My opponents also have stated that animal testing is the best model, but our alternatives offer an even more applicable way of testing because it works on actual human tissue that can be donated from recent deaths of humans or from surgeries. And also, our alternatives, we would not be testing on actual humans. We would be testing on their tissues and the computer models that our technology was able to create. No one would like to be experimented on, so we should not be causing such pain in animals My opponent also continued to call animals models, but animals are animals, living, breathing animals, not something that we should test upon for our own benefits. In summary, animals are able to experience pain, sorrow, and feel just like humans. We need to allocate our resources to the more accurate opportunities that donated tissues and virtual experiments offer. It is for these reasons that we, the affirmative, support the resolve that the FDA should eliminate the use of animals for medical testing. Please vote affirmative.